You're watching Cox Connections only on Cox 11. With its initiative, Blueprint Virginia, the Virginia Chamber of Commerce has been hosting public hearings throughout the Commonwealth by bringing together business and community leaders to craft a long-range statewide economic development plan to maintain our competitive edge in the global economy. Joining me now to tell us more about Blueprint Virginia are Barry Duvall, President and CEO of the Virginia Chamber of Commerce, and Chairman of the Steering Committee for Blueprint Virginia, Paul Kuntz, CEO of Dominion Virginia Power. Thanks for joining me on the show.
Gary, thank you.
Barry, let me start with you. Tell us about the Chamber, the Virginia Chamber and its mission.
Yeah, the Virginia Chamber of Commerce has been in business since 1924, and we're really the voice of Virginia business and represent 15,000 business members around the state. And then there are about 50,000 businesses in Virginia that belong to local chambers. So we're the voice of Virginia business to the governor, to the members of the General Assembly, and increasingly so to members who represent us in Congress.
And so the Chamber's new initiative, Blueprint Virginia, it's received a lot of attention throughout the state. Tell us a little bit more about Blueprint.
Well, one of the Chamber's priorities is to maintain Virginia as a great place to do business. As you know, we've recently been ranked #1 again in America as the #1 place for business. But there are clouds on the horizon for Virginia. Our economy is changing. We're seeing a downsizing in defense spending. We're the #1 state per capita in the country to receive defense spending. So with the uncertain federal spending coming in our direction, the impact of sequestration, and generally competition from abroad for manufacturing and services, Virginia has to work diligently to maintain our competitive edge. So we wanted the business community to have a chance to really work on a long-term plan and communicate to public policy leaders what that plan looks like. So it's called Blueprint Virginia.
You mentioned business community. Paul, obviously you run a large operation here in the state. Why did you get involved leading the steering committee for Blueprint?
Well, it was a great opportunity. As I travel around the state, you hear a lot of anecdotal information on the health of the economy. Now, Virginia has been very fortunate that we've had a lot of economic growth with the government expansion in Northern Virginia, but as Barry just mentioned, that's changing. And the competitiveness of other states and other countries are changing. So when I listen to the anecdotal comments that are made by various business leaders as I travel around the state, and I listen to Barry talk about the need for a long-range plan, it just seemed like a perfect opportunity to get involved and to do what we can to really speak with one voice to a governor who serves one term and to a General Assembly that has more sustainability, to speak with one voice about what we need to do to be sure that Virginia stays the #1 place to do business. So really it was just a great opportunity, and I was glad to be able to do it.
Barry, now this was a year-long initiative. How have you been able to keep this thing alive and keep the energy?
Well, we first of all had a steering committee led by Paul Kuntz and other CEOs around the state whom you know well, but they asked for it to be a bottom-up process. So over a year ago, we started with regional meetings, and we've held them all over the state. We've had over 7,000 businesses participate, really ranking for us what they deem to be the most critical issues facing Virginia, and really offering solutions for specific areas of competitiveness to help the next governor and to help the General Assembly understand the priorities and the important positions within those priorities of issues that impact Virginia. So it's really created a lot of momentum, and we currently are working with the new governor's transition office on a number of important areas that impact Virginia's competitiveness.
So you mentioned, this is, Paul, a large state.
Yes.
The regions are somewhat different. They do their own economic development planning. How has Blueprint been able to incorporate the local issues, the local economic development plans?
Yeah,
into
from the very beginning, this was about making the entire state competitive. This wasn't about one region versus another. So really, you talk about how they've been able to sustain the energy over the course of the year. There has been really a lot of interest. A lot of people have come forward to really offer their views. But when you step back, it's surprising to me, as diverse as the state is, the common themes that emerge: workforce readiness, education.
That's where I was going to go next. What have we learned? What are the top? Either one of you, Paul.
Yeah.
Well, I think what Paul is saying is right. Although every region is unique in Virginia, and we want to make sure we build and support regional strategies that exist. Gary, there are statewide themes. And the number one theme for the business community, whether we were in Hampton Roads, Northern Virginia, or Southwest Virginia, is the quality of the workforce and the education system to prepare that workforce. Number one, over 30% of respondents said they want the next governor of Virginia to help improve workforce training in Virginia and to help the business community with the quality of the workforce it's receiving from its education system. And that's the number one priority. There are other themes that are important, such as continuing to invest in transportation, get those projects built around the state that have been funded through the last General Assembly session, and obviously continue to protect the pro-business policies of Virginia. But I think the number one issue that we would spend a minute with you talking about is the importance of education and workforce in Virginia.
Let's double click on that one, Paul.
Yeah.
What were some of the strategies that were talked about in regard to improving the educational system?
Well, I think all business leaders over the last 20 years have been able to take advantage of technology to streamline processes and do more with less. But over that period of time, there's been a postponement of hiring. So now we look back, and all businesses, Dominion as well as others, look at the age of the workforce and the need to hire, and now they're looking out at the quality of the workforce and concluding that more needs to be done. And it really, Gary, as you know, because of your involvement with early child care, it starts with early child care. And Blueprint Virginia has acknowledged that, which I think is a real breakthrough. We start with what we need to be doing at the pre-K. Then we get to kindergarten and K through 12, the STEM program, science, technology, engineering, math. And we've even expanded that to call it STEM-H. Because of medical advances and the aging population, healthcare has really become front and center. So we need to focus on early child care. Then we need to really emphasize the importance of the STEM curriculum and then move that into the college ranks. Now, where I think business has a real role to play here is we have to communicate with the colleges and the vocational schools on what are the specific skill sets we need so that they can begin to modify their curriculum so that when they come out of those institutions, they're ready to support our businesses in ways that they haven't in the past.
Gary, what I like about this is it shows that the business leadership of the state is willing to come together and stay involved to ensure they're communicating to public policy makers and educate people who set public policy and education. We had a study done by George Mason University, Dr. Stephen Fuller, who's pretty well known around the Commonwealth. He analyzed the workforce needs for Virginia for the next 10 years. And here's how the numbers break down. About 2 million new workers will be needed in the next 10 years. 1.3 million workers will be needed to replace the retiring baby boomers. About 700,000 workers will be needed in this STEM plus H area, and we're not producing those workers
so
today,
it's
Gary.
It's not a jobs issue, it's a workers issue. And clearly what Blueprint
Yes.
is doing is making sure that we have those workers. Really thank you for the leadership that you're providing in this entire area to make the Commonwealth the kind of place that we all want to live, work, and do business.
Thank you.
After the break, you'll meet a local teacher who is using robots to create a positive and fun learning experience for students. We'll be right back with more Cox Connection.